What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we are talking hardcore, and we're rolling the calendar way back to 1995. What a wild year. Our lists are all over the place, and this was super fun to do. I think you're going to like it, so stay tuned for that. Also, want to say thank you to everyone that came out to the show on Saturday night in Oxnard at the OPAC. It was a blast. It was episode 1, The Legend, Joe Rivas' 50th birthday. It was super fun. Lots of people came out. Also, Dead Heat killed it. Respect all the people that came up front, sang along to Retaliate, helped me out. Good God, man. It is hard to yell after not doing it for almost 2 years. So thanks, everyone, for bailing me out up front. It is much appreciated. Stalag killed it. Out of Trust killed it. Tarina killed it. Hiding Inside Victims killed it. And what's up? The Bad Ones. That shit was tight. Also, on Friday night, I went to a show in San Diego, saw Take Offense. Good God, man. How are they not the biggest band on the planet? That band rules. Support them. Go see them. Buy their records. They are so good. It is out of this world. Also, Dead Heat played. And what a treat, dude. Getting to see Dead Heat twice in one weekend, that's what's up. Also, Section Hate killed it, and Exile killed it, dude. It was 2 banger shows back-to-back. It was so fun. Everyone support hardcore, buy records, go to shows, be safe, be respectful. You know what's up. Also want to send a big shout-out to my main man, Steve Wailea. What's up, dude? You the man. All right. Please support the podcast by subscribing to it wherever you listen to it. Also, if you listen on Apple Podcasts, please like it, rate it, and review it. I do not know why it matters, but it does. And thus, it matters to me. So respect everyone that has done that. And if you haven't, please take the minute or 2 that it takes. It is much appreciated. Also, go to the website, 185milessouth.com. There is a playlist for every episode. Although, spoiler alert, if you want to listen to our lists organically this week, don't check that playlist because all our songs are on there. So once you're done listening to the episode, you can check it out, listen to all the songs that we picked, and that's pretty cool. Also, smash that Patreon button. The Patreons are the people that keep this podcast alive, and I love them to a person. But let's get on with the pod.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast.
What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we are doing a Super 7 for the year 1995. Helping out, you know him, you love him. He is the best dressed man on the pod. He is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
What's going on? In regards to being the best dressed man on the pod, I am currently opening a brand new package of Adidas that just came in. So, Instagram, look for those soon.
And a nice segue to a man that wrote a book on hip-hop of the era of my Adidas. What's up, Ben Edge, a.k.a. Ben Merlis, a.k.a. Bedge?
My Adidas. I am going to click like on the photo of you wearing the Adidas stand, but only because your dog Reggie will be standing next to you, and it's really just because your dog is cute.
Okay, I'll take that. There's a reason that it's a double-edged sword that both Shoes and Reggie are in the picture.
Well, hopefully Reggie hasn't gotten mauled by that cigarette-smoking dog up in Oakland by now.
That's Duke. I know Duke.
Okay, so Duke's a nice guy. He just comes off a little rough, huh?
Well, it's like those like older sketchy dudes in the scene that you're like, I'm glad I'm on his good side. That's Duke.
Yeah. Sometimes barnacles and some people you just try to not get stabbed by, right?
That's right.
All right. Also helping out, it is Anthony Papalardo. What's up, Pops?
I'm good, man. I'm a little tired. I'm recovering from a hefty Limp Bizkit set this weekend at Coachella. Some bruises, and just the mental scars. But it was a good release, and I feel healthy. I feel good.
Yeah, 6 weeks ago, and they're still with you.
And I
They're
think
always
that
with me.
and I think that was Lollapalooza and not Coachella. Am I wrong?
No, it was Lollapalooza. You're right. All right. Well, anyway, the year is 1995, and everyone was into hardcore except for me. I only liked Fat Wreck and Epitaph stuff at this time because I'm a total poser. So what's up? But Dan, give us the State of the Union, 1995.
1995, I was on a ship leaving San Diego and going across the world to the Persian Gulf and listening to Sick of It All, Scratch the Surface, backed with Mobb Deep, The Infamous, and then just flipping one record out, putting another one in, just on my CD boombox on the ship. And, there was a lot of other stuff to listen to too. I think we're going to get to it. It's a really fucking great time because, you said you were into that Fat Wreck Epitaph stuff. It's probably the best of that world is around this time, and then it, goes to shit. And then, obviously, punk broke through Green Day, etc. So there's some major label interest, which may or may not get touched on here. Plus, hardcore is in the mid of the 90s, so metalcore is in pole position. What is traditionally proper metalcore, not what it was later on to be called. Plus, venues and stuff. It's after the big boom of the late 80s and around 90, and then this is in the harder years. It's where you really you're there because you love it.
Ben, what's your State of the Union report, 1995?
Second half of 11th grade, first half of 12th grade. My first band formed, played 2 shows and broke up all within the year 1995. We were called Without Reason. And I started going to like proper straight edge shows, bands like Undertow and Strife and Integrity's not a straight edge band, nor is Ignite, but those kind of shows in 95. And I'm trying to think, metalcore was a big deal. Fat Wreck was a big deal. A lot of bands mixing like post-hardcore, alt rock mixed with hardcore was a big deal. I think if you were a Youth Crew kid, there were glimmers of hope starting in 95. But for the most part, if you're a fan of like straight ahead 80s style hardcore, this is a dog shit year. But looking back on all the music I loved in 1995, there's so much of it. It's actually a great year, in my opinion. I know other people who are like, it's like a desert, but there was plenty of stuff for me to like in that time span.
Dude, 1995 kicks ass. Outside of like the New York hardcore Super 7, this has easily been the hardest one for me. This is like insane. There's so much stuff I love. Pops, 1995, other than writing Straight Edge Brothers in the Pit Together.
Yeah, that was written in 94. But this is kind of, for me, maybe on the on the East Coast, it's kind of a weird year because it kind of felt like I don't know, like a great NBA team where like the cornerstone players are kind of fading out. There's some new talent coming in. You're not sure where the team's headed, like what the franchise is going to do. And there's almost like all these different tiers happening. There's like the Victory Procore thing is in full swing, but there's also this like basement core zone. There's the flicker of sort of a revival. And then also kind of interesting, it feels like, I'm not saying 95 specifically, but there's a lot of older bands that are coming back because I think there's a lot of interest in punk. So it's almost a little microcosm of the world we live in now. But I think there's a lot of interesting, cool stuff. And as I was putting this together, I realized how eclectic the hardcore I was listening to was. So I'm looking forward to rapping out about it.
Same. My taste level in this time period was, just that of someone, especially being away from home and away from all my friends at the very end of the year, because we took off for that Westpac in I think November. But being away from everyone, I was like a whale shark, just inhaling as much music and core and everything as I could get my hands on. So there's so many records that are parts of my spinal column from this year that, they just make me. So I'm excited to talk about this. And I love the aging sports team analogy. That was pretty cool.
Dan, go ahead and break down what a Super 7 is and give us the draw order, please.
Okay. So a Super 7 we handle similar to a fantasy football draft. If you don't know what one of those is, we take turns in taking picks to form the best 7-song, essentially mixtape playlist. And later on, we have our wonderful 185 fans all chime in and say, "Oh, I hate to vote for Dan, but I have to because he did pick the best songs," which hurts my feelings and makes me cry that single tear down my cheek. But when one song is taken, you cannot take that song, but you can definitely take something else from that band, that record, if you like. The order is Bedge, first pick from the lottery. Daniel, number 2. Zach, number 3. And with the Nard curse, we got Pops.
I love it. And I also am calling shenanigans because in the year that Unbroken puts out a 2-song 7-inch, of course Dan pulls in the first 2 picks. What's up, dude? It's pretty whack. But Ben, let's go to you for your first pick. And are you going to break Dan's heart and take absentee debate?
Oh, God.
I'm actually not going to cock block anyone's pick. Maybe I am. Shit, I don't know what you guys. I mean, I kind of know what you guys are going to pick, but I'm going to go with I'm going to go with the first song off my favorite album of 1995, which is also my favorite album of the entire decade, which is Danurism by the band Lifetime, and that is on Hello Bastards. And when I first heard this record, it was like, God, this sounds so fucking cliche and cheesy, but it's really true. Like, there was something that felt really black and white about hardcore music in the 90s, and this was like everything turns Technicolor. Like in the Wizard of Oz, where she walks out of that door and it's like, bam, everything's in color. Like, that's how it felt like listening to this album for the first time. Like, duh, you can play fast and be fun and still be hardcore. Like, no shit. Like, why aren't more bands doing this? And so it was like just this huge breath of fresh air. And every time I listen to this song, it's always faster than I remember it being. You know, you don't listen to a record for a few years, and then you put it on and you're like, this is kind of weaker than I remember. Like, I have the opposite effect with this song. It's like actually like faster than I remember it. And the structure of the song's cool because it's one verse, one chorus, and then a breakdown, which is just the verse played slowly, and it's just perfection. It's like probably a minute long.
It's a great song, and when this LP came out, I was so unbelievably ecstatic that someone was doing a nod to the House Martins, who were an important band for me in the mid to late 80s. And that's the thing that drew me into this. You know how certain little things can like draw you into something? It made me like the band probably more than I would have if I just liked the music. It made me really ride for them. And I think that's a great pick.
One thing I'll say about that entire album is that Lifetime were a big band before that, but it felt like when this came out that they delivered on the promise of why you like them. Like, everything sort of coalesced in this great record, and stylistically there were changes, energy there was changes, aesthetics there was changes, and it was like, it's very rare that a band that had been around for they'd been around like 4 or 5 years at this point puts out their best work in kind of, and everyone crystallizes around saying like, yeah, that's the thing, and it even grew their audience. So that alone was kind of exciting, that there was this little moment that everyone kind of said, and even in my experience, there's people older than me that were kind of jaded that were like, "That's a fucking great record." So it's a cool moment.
And just think of the musical legacy that this sound spawned.
I try not to because I really don't like most of the bands that tried to sound like this record. But I love
All
this
right.
record.
Well, from Danielism to Daniel Sant. Dan, what's your pick?
Zach's right. Absentee Debate, the best hardcore song of 1995, and maybe it's up there in the top 10 of all time. Absentee Debate, Unbroken. Holy fucking shit. This is an amazing band firing on every cylinder and then borrowing a couple and firing on those as well. The I Don't Care outro of the just so there's a documentary on HBO a few months back called 100-Foot Wave, and it's about big wave surfing and just these giant waves crashing down on you and like holding you under. That's what that riff is like. Then when you think you're coming up for air, boom, and it just keeps going. And
you're like the that Brazilian girl that got dragged out the beach. Had to be brought back to life the first time you got moshed by this song.
That's right. Yeah. It's incredible. This is Unbroken, where they are starting to be influenced by some of the other music across town, hometown-wise, like Jehu, Rocket, but still being completely unbroken. So it's upbeat, it's rock influence to a very small extent, but that small extent makes this what it is. It's really fucking great, and yeah, it has to be my number one pick.
Is this the one where it starts, "We live and die with our opinions," or is that the B-side, other side of the record?
No, that's right.
Yeah, it's a good one.
The song's perfect. And also it's like the biggest Unbroken mosh, and then it kind of morphs into something else because of how long they like drag it out. It morphs into like a weird, like kind of like a trancey part. I don't know. It's something special. Like we all know this band is something special, and this might be the apex of them. You know, we've talked before. It's like their masterpieces, Life, Love, Regret. They do a slight tweak, a slight right turn, and hit this other lane and do two perfect 7 inches after the LP. It's amazing. Pops, what's your take on this?
I mean, again, it's nice to see bands that are kind of like they'd started something different earlier in the 90s and continue to progress in a way that I don't want to say better because that's subjective, but they're adding to the soup, and it gets more interesting while retaining the DNA of who they are. So I think that's one of the more exciting things about this period is that you see some bands peak, even though it's like normally in hardcore, your peak is like, it's very quick, right? It burns really quick. And to see a band a little deeper in their career do something that keeps delivering on the promise is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's why this band has the, beyond the lyrical and vibe and output in that regard, I think that's why this band has this mythological, like, almost fan base of love that for it is because everything kept getting better and more like ripped open heart, showing the DNA all the way to the end. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. One thing I'll add to that is that there's a lot of bands that live off their energy, and that's what's exciting about it. And then there's bands that learn to sort of control and harness that energy and be deliberate with it. And that's my take on Unbroken, is that as they went on, they got a little more deliberate, a little more measured. And that's what I see. It's almost like this cognizance of what they're doing just by being a band for so long.
Yeah, I think it's incredible that, I mean, I agree with you that everything was very thought out. Everything was it was art. Do you know what I mean? Like, these things were artistic, like, outputs. And what's crazy is to see that happening with people so young.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's awesome. And that's why I love them and always will.
Well, right on. So, if The Trooper was never written and Don't Fear the Reaper was never written, this would be the greatest song in the history of Earth. It is You Tell Me To. Collateral Damage, the song Hold My Breath, off the Guilty by Association LP Comp 1995 Indecision Records. Good God, man. It's like it grabs you out the gate with like, okay, why is this guy yelling at me? And then it hits. It's like the ultimate headbang. The ring outs on the chorus, back into like, I don't know, when it hits on the second verse, it's like, why am I headbanging even harder? Like they just get back to it with the crunch of the guitar. And then, I love any song that starts mid-tempo and goes fast at the end. Yeah. This one does it. It's got it all. It's the greatest song other than, shout out Trooper, shout out Don't Fear the Reaper. But this is right there. It's in the trifecta of the greatest songs in the history of Earth. Collateral Damage, holding it down. Dan, you think the Redemption 87 song is the best on this record. But
I do.
This is the second best, right?
Yeah. The Redemption 87 is my favorite by far off the but this is this also has aged like a fine alcohol-free apple cider. It is really, with each year, like at the time I liked it, and it was cool, but I think doing this pod has made me like it even more and more because we talk about it often.
Yeah, and Ben, this is your favorite song to wash the dishes to.
I could listen to this song 6 times in a row while washing the dishes, and I have, and just driven my girlfriend nuts. It's so good.
I love it.
I remember seeing Collateral Damage after this came out, and people in the audience, while they were walking up on the stage, were like, "You tell me to." Oh my God! Like they were all waiting for it. Like, this is it. Just give us what we want. It's like it's like wrestlers, how they have their what's the finishing move? What's the term for that?
Yeah, finishing move.
Move.
This is the finishing move of Collateral Damage. It's like, all right, they're gonna do it. Bam, and they do it.
When this comp came out, I was living with John LaCroix, and he was doing Extent, so he would get all the promos early. I came home we were both going to art school, and you would have these breaks in the middle of the day. So everyone in art school had from I believe it was noon to 2:00 off. I came home to make lunch because I was broke, and he's jamming this song, and he literally grabbed me. He was like, "Dude, check this out!" And he already knew every lyric, and he was moshing around the apartment to it, and it was just one of those moments where you're just innocently psyched about something. You're like, well, there's something new and it's familiar, and it's just ripping. And we kind of did this. You weren't doing dishes. I was making food, but we were having that experience of getting so psyched and then cycling through the comp. And it was a cool little moment that it felt like there was a spark of something new happening.
Yeah. A lot of songs and albums, they either grab you off the bat and then it kind of fades, or they grow on you. And this is one of those songs where it grabs you right away and it never fades. It still is dope every time I listen to it. It's so fucking awesome.
You know what this song is? Now that I think of it, it's a continuation of early Chorus of Disapproval.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. But this would be the greatest chorus song.
Yeah, the vocals are better.
Chorus is awesome. They're what they do with such a small palette is amazing. There's a lot of YOLO in chorus. I love chorus, but this song is good God, man. But Pops, let's go to you for your number one.
I'm going with a divisive pick, and there's a reason for this, because there's a reason for everything I do. So I'm going with Civ et tu, Brute. The reason being, so you could say oh, they went right to a major. Oh, they wore creepers. There's this whole thing. What's really cool about this song is that it's one of the best produced mosh parts ever. And it's almost it's almost low key harder. The mosh part in this song is almost low key harder than any GB song, and it's kind of like the reason I picked this is like you need to have something you need a target to aim for, and so everything coming after this, if you thought they were corny, if you were going to write a diss track about them, if you whatever reservation you had, it's like, well, you still have to take that out. You still have to do better than that. And I don't know. It's the record's a little like it wavers between the poppier tracks and the hardcore tracks. But to me, if you take it out and you just extract like that song, or if you heard it on the Rev single, whatever, it's a ripper. I mean, I would like to hear some detractors on this and tell me it's a bad tune.
Not getting detraction from me. It is a killer song. And, you know, yeah, they were on a major label, but when they came around, they still were core people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Don and I cornered Civ at the Soma sideshow and just made him tell us Youth of Today roadie stories for like 2 hours that he was happy to do. When they played the Tower Records parking lot by the sports arena, Mike Cheese just grabbed the mic out of Civ's hand and just screamed "Better Than You, Crew" like a trillion times into the mic, and Civ couldn't get the mic back off him. But that's the thing, they were in these circles, and maybe that's why they didn't last in these circles, because they were always still core kids, you know? But Set Your Goals was huge for me around this time. I loved it.
Yeah, I was at the very first Warped Tour, and they opened with this song, and I ran so fast to the front of the stage, and it was like the slate's being wiped clean. Like, all you doot-dat-ditter-dat bands, fucking get a load of this shit. And this is like a cool song because it has all these cool moments in it that are super quotable. It's like the Repo Man of songs, where like every moment is quotable. It's like, just take one step, kid. You know, it's so New York. And then that breakdown really is the blueprint for like Bridge 9 core mosh parts like 6 years later, because it's got, you do bass drum and crash cymbal at the same time, and then you do snare drum and crash cymbal at the same time, and then you alternate bah, 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 and everyone was doing that like in 2001, 02. But it all comes from this song, I think, unless there was some shit before this, but I don't remember. And then like Civ is kind of the test case of like whether or not the most awesome music possible works in the context of like the worst packaging possible, because you have that awful cover art, the swing band revival clothes, the band named after the singer by the guy who isn't even in the band, guitar picks in Dorito bags, dressing like you're on a safari on Warped Tour 98. And then you have like, but then again, you have like half an album that sounds like it could have been on like the theoretical second Gorilla Biscuits LP, which is like, you know, one of my favorite bands ever. And
yeah, but
never got to see Gorilla Biscuits. This is as close as I was going to get, and I treated it that way. I tried to see them as much as I could.
Same.
And then you have like half the album is a bunch of really good pop punk songs that don't sound like Fat Wreck.
Yeah. One thing I've got to say though is at the time,
shout out to Bedge's Coke dealer. Jesus Christ.
One thing I got to say though is at the time, all the swingers core and all of that stuff, it didn't come off as being awful yet. That's way more of a hindsight thing.
Yeah, that's because there were so many people that were legit tough guys at San Diego that looked like that and would have kicked your ass.
Yeah, go to Tio Leo's and get your fucking head stomped in while Don is swing dancing in the background. No, the one thing I will, you know, Swingers was huge film, blah, blah, blah. The Swingers soundtrack was massive. This kind of look was just, you know, subculture core at the time. And yes, it has aged very poorly, but at the time it was actually pretty cool.
Well, I also think too, for if they came out like looking kind of schlubby or whatever, or trying to be like, you know, like if the cover of this record was them recreating like We're Not in This Alone, that would have actually been more corny. You know what I mean? Like at least, I don't know, to try to have an identity and try to like repurpose hardcore in a different way, whether it aged well or not. hey, whatever, they tried. They tried to repackage it and do something different, and they could have looked like Goodfellas. They could have taken a bunch of different New York tropes or something, but you can't fault it. Like, at the end of the day, do we want to talk about clothes or do we want to talk about music? And that's a ripper of a tune. And again, that's why I picked it, because it was like, hey, we didn't get the second GB record. We got this. And now you want to do a revival? Well, you got to take this song down. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, well, when I got this, I was in the Persian Gulf, I think, and got it in I think I got it in Kuwait. And the CD I bought of it was Baby Blue. And then I came back to America and everyone had that like rusty brown or burgundy brown cover. And I was like, oh, I've got the Kuwaiti like Manchester City press. I love it.
Was there someone working at Atlantic International, like WIA International, who was like, yeah, we've test marketed the baby blue color and it really works well in the Middle Eastern markets? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know, but I love it.
If you're sweating your dick off, you don't want like an album cover that makes you feel hotter. All right, Dan, let's go to you. Round 2.
Bedge, round 2.
Oh, Bedge. Sorry.
He's going round 2 after his Coke bust.
I'm going to go on another Coke binge here. I'm going to go, and I am going to cock block at least 2 of you, maybe all of you. Redemption 80. Huh?
Right on. Love it. I was guessing your cock block, but I was wrong. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, Redemption 87 About Face. And I had to get this one in before someone else took it because this is the only Redemption 87 song that came out this year. So I'd be fucked. I couldn't give them props without grabbing this one. This is the first song I ever heard of theirs. I guess it's the first one that ever came out. It's on the same comp that has the Collateral Damage song on it, the Guilty by Association CD from fucking what the hell was that? Indecision Records.
It was my computer saying I didn't pay for some software.
Okay.
Pirate.
It was a polite noise to let you know.
No, it was like, you better serve up Indecision Records with some respect. What the fuck?
One of the all-time classic bass intros for any hardcore song. Like, you just start playing that, and if you know, you know. And then I love the idea of Eric Ozeen. Go back and listen to his interview on 185 Miles South, where he talks about joining the military in, I don't know what year it was, 89, 90. And he comes back and he missed however many years of music, and he listens to what is passing for hardcore. And he's like, this isn't fucking hardcore. Fuck this shit. I'm bringing it back to 1987. And he starts Redemption 87. So he's like a hardcore kid preserved in amber, which is awesome because I feel like a hardcore kid preserved in amber too.
That rules. I love that.
Yeah, I like the self-referential lyrics about, I told you once before, you can't kill a dream. That's pretty sick.
Oh yeah, he's quoting himself.
Yeah.
Unit Pride,
which is like, it's a rap move, which I respect that, but I always like that little nod,
It's also a Bad Religion move. They'd like doing that too.
I love it.
This is the best Redemption 87 song in my opinion. This song is the best song on the comp in my opinion, and I am a little bit angry that it's not on my list because acceptance came.
Sounds like a barking dog who's gonna bite your face off.
Yeah. I love it. This song is just, when it hits on the comp, you're like, holy fucking shit. This is the one that my friends and I all like, no, this is the one. Have you heard that, that it was the conversation that, like, we need to check this band out. And then they came and played the Soul Kitchen not long after, and it was such a sick show.
Yeah, anytime I get in my truck, it just starts playing like my iPhone, whatever music I have in my iTunes. And for whatever reason, it plays everything in alphabetical order. And I have this song on it 3 times because it's on this comp, which I have on my phone. It's on the LP, which I have on my phone. And then it's also on the Spidey Session 7-inch, which is also on my phone. And I have definitely listened to it 3 times in a row. So what's up with that?
I love it.
Dan, you ready for your number 2?
Ooh, yeah. So I went with my number one, but because, we've all got some crossover on the taste level, I might have to go with a song that would be just a little bit further down on my list as my number 2 so I can secure it, and I'm going to. I'm going with Systems Overload, Integrity. Holy shit. I talked about the Unbroken mosh part being like a wall just punishing you. Systems is the same. It's just the wall of like sound, just Phil Spector with fucking construction gloves, a Jordan jersey, and some like Jordan 11s just being horrible to people. That's what this song is. I mean, Phil Spector actually was horrible to people, as we're well aware, but
But he wasn't rocking Jordan 11, so fuck him.
Yeah. I mean, this is such a punishing, like, amazing riff, and then Dwid's voice is incredible. Shout out to the Melnick Redux of this. I think it's the Melnicks who did it. The Redux of Systems Overload, the album. But I mean, Systems Overloading, Fear envelops me. Like, I fucking love it. I mean, lyrically thinking of like yourself as exploding, it's perfect matching lyrically to the sound of the song, and I think it's incredible. Obviously, I love Integrity, I love hardcore, and I love this song.
I love how this is the thickest Integrity song. It's like, I don't think they recorded extra guitar tracks for it, but if you're just talking like beefy, like you have a headache and you're like, oh, there's the Excedrin and there's the Excedrin extra, I'm going for the extra on this one. It's so thick and driving, and it's kind of like you hadn't. Those Who Fear Tomorrow, awesome, right? But like the production on this, and then the redo on the album, this track just alone, it's just, you can't do good things to it. Like, you couldn't do your homework to this. You couldn't like wrap a present to this. You can only do bad shit to it, and that's a positive to me.
Yeah, it's the recording that matches the song. It's so chunky and gnarly, and it's great. I believe it was the Ore remixes, though. That was like the guitarist that played. He came in after that, whatever that comeback record was they did.
Okay, I know that there is a different record, probably remixed by A Double, I think. As well.
I don't know. Oh, there is. So okay. Anyway,
but I don't know if it's this one.
17,000 versions.
I'm a constant fountain for misinformation. Shout out 185 Archives. But I love this.
Yeah, this is great. It's so brutal, right? That the riff, and then the way they circle back to the riff. It's ill as fuck. All right, my number 2. I am taking Ash Return by Ignite.
I knew you would.
Perfect opening song. It just sets like the vibe, and it's like this dark vibe that's like so serious, but then they're like a fast hardcore band. I don't know. It's like Uniform Choice through the vibe of the mid 90s. Like kind of Uniform Choice if they were on New Age Records in like 93, even though this is 1995 and on Conversion Records. But this song is ill. It's my crossover album. It took me out of all the new school punk rock to hardcore, and it makes perfect sense why, right? It's just melodic enough, it's serious enough, it's fast enough, and it's just all around great. This is one of my favorite LPs of all time. This is the first song off it, and it's ill. What's up, Ben? Were you going to grab this?
Yes, I was. I was also going to grab You Tell Me Too.
Oh, my God! Rise up to your level, sinking even further down. You're afraid.
so you stole both of those from me. But I knew
Yeah.
you were going to pick both of those, so it's fine. But
Yeah.
Ash,
I would have been bummed if you took the Collateral Damage one, but I had 4 Ignite songs, so
the thing about Ignite is the first time I ever heard them was when I first saw them. I went to go see Strife, and I ended up discovering all these other bands in the process. And when they went on, it was like, oh, thank God! Oh, it's the second coming of Uniform Choice again. The way I was never able to see Gorilla Biscuits, but I had Civ. This was like, okay, well, this is my Uniform Choice. You know, this is what I'm able to. And I saw them a lot, and it was always fun. It was always a cool experience. And talk about classic bass intros, man. This and that Redemption 87 song, it's like 2 for 2. And this
Yeah.
album is really good too. And I bought the CD before the cover existed, and they had to mail me the cover. And I was like, I thought the standard for hardcore records had been elevated, and then I bought several more hardcore records that came out around the same time period. And I'm like, nope, this is actually exceptional. This is not the standard. This is above the standard.
Yeah, I'll say that this is a very moody song. Like it makes the fast hardcore have a very serious vibe. When you know, this is introducing you to the album that you're like, oh, you know, this has some gravity to it. I'm not talking Gravity Records. It is really great, and it's such a standout. And you know, whatever perhaps they went on to do late in their career, they'll always have this record. It's so good.
yeah,
let
let me just say that this is a re-recording. You know, like this came out first with like the Joe Nelson singing it, and Joe Nelson wrote great lyrics on the song, but Zoli like bodies his voice. You know, it's like perfect on this. And go ahead, Pops.
Oh, I wanted to shout out my mom because I'm using my art degree right now, my visual arts degree. It's not on this record, but I always loved on the Where They Talk 7-inch that the eye in Ignite was a burnt match. I always thought that was a good look. I like this band. My friend Chris Patterson, who's in 10 Yard Fight, he was in LA for an internship or something for a while, and he was friends with the Strife guys, and he told me about Ignite. So I liked that thing of getting stoked about a band that you haven't heard, where your friends just like, oh, just wait till you hear this, you know? And when the record we're talking about came out, they played the tune-in, and a bunch of us went down to see them. And it was almost cartoonish because it was I mean, these guys like looked like what you wanted them to look like. You know, they're like these chiseled people and delivered on it. And it was just, I don't know, there's something like kind of fun about it and serious at the same time. And yeah, I mean, I like that it is a moody song. And again, I think like this whole year is about the spark of what could come. So ignite the spark, bro.
Totally.
Yeah,
I
they're the human embodiment of what Wishing Well Records should look like.
Yeah. If you like weird scienced it, right? If you put the little nodes on the logo, you're like, come on, come to life. And it happened.
And that's a great sing-along where he goes, all we say is thanks. Thanks for nothing. And everyone yells, thanks for nothing. And I love, it's like this, there was like the glimmer. In 95, there was this glimmer of like, all you fucking dumb fucks who ruined hardcore by turning it into this slow, mushy sounding shit. Get ready. We're bringing the shit back. And like it maybe that's corny now from like the perspective of like the era we live in now, where you can literally click on anything and there's like 100 bands that play any style of music you can imagine. But back then it was like almost like there's like a culture war within the straight edge hardcore scene happening, where it's like, where we'll show those metal fucks, you know? So even though I like some of them were metal sounding stuff too, but I was definitely team bring back the 80s. So
if you think about it in like let's think about it through a consumer lens. If you're not into like tech sneakers and you're like, I just want fucking Jordan 1s, man. And then like the Jordan 1s come back and you're the only one who knows about it and you get to buy a pair on clear vinyl, you're fucking stoked. And that's what it was like, you know? It's like, I don't like all these things around me. This shit is too technical. This is too much of a fucking bum out. Just give me the fucking basics, beef it up, inject a little fucking OC roids into it, and it was awesome.
And Dan will appreciate the fact that I know this, but your metaphor, not metaphor, whatever. The
Analogy.
Your analogy is almost historically on point because Jordan 1s were reissued right around that time, 94 actually. Am I right, Dan?
Yeah. And what's really cool about this is I'm still waiting on those clear vinyl ones. It's going to be sick.
They should have ran with that logo for longer. Like the logo that Pops referenced off where they talk 7-inch. What a perfect logo. And it's on some t-shirts. And like every time I see that t-shirt, I'm like, God damn, that logo is ill. Like
they were leaving that like Joe era behind, I think. And that's what the logo of that 7-inch was, right?
Yeah, well, Gavin did it, so they're leaving that behind as well, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's go to Pops for number 2.
Going another major label. I'm starting at the top. Now you're going to say Quicksand. They're not a hardcore band. Why is he picking that? But that song "Divorce," it's almost like Moondog vibes. What I think. Well, let me backtrack. This record. When this record came out, a lot of times what would happen is the vinyl would come out. Like Rev released the vinyl for this before the actual release of the record. So you get the vinyl a week before, which is kind of exciting for Manic Compression. And a lot of people didn't like Slip because it was too produced or whatever. And I thought Manic was kind of interesting because it literally came in hot. It was so separated in the way it sounded. It was like really, really hot sounding and then really bassy. But Divorce specifically, it deviates from the Quicksand formula, right? Like it doesn't start with a groove. It's faster. And then again, it goes into this like essentially a mosh part. So for a band that was trying to, as they've said, get away from the shoegaze sound and get into like trying to sound like Sonic Youth and recording with Wharton Tears. And so this to me sounds very Moondog, and it's got like, I wanted to pick Voice Killer, which is a B-side to this single, that song is ridiculous, but I want everyone to be able to hear it. So I went with Divorce, but it's a very hardcore approach. And so for a band that was trying to be experimental, they almost went backwards. I guess a reference to another song on the record, but it's like you can say Quicksand is a post-hardcore band, but listen to that song. It's more, the song Divorce is more hardcore than a lot of things being called hardcore now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, our group chat can be a testament to that. My favorite off this LP is Landmine Spring, and that was gonna be on. It was vying for inclusion in my 7, but now that we've able to have a good Quicksand discussion, I think something else may replace Landmine Spring on my 7. But I have to say, like, Manic Compression, I mean, I love Slip, but I really love Manic Compression. I love the crunch. It's so cool. Like, both Quicksand LPs are amazing. Well, both. That sounds dismissive because they've had more since, but
yeah,
both in their first run LPs. You know,
Dan, how do you know that I'm not going to take Landmine Spring?
I just do.
Or
There's a
Ben.
lot of to come.
That's
What are
true.
your-
I mean,
What a year for Walter. He wrote the whole Civ album, and Quicksand had an album, and he wrote that whole album too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, quite the quite the Mozart of the 1995 New York area.
Yeah, prolific year for Walter.
Yeah, this is one of those records that it took me a really long time to get into, where like in today's climate, you would just click on the next thing on Spotify and like not even give it a chance. But I was like, all these guys are in bands that were in bands that I love, you know, all the hardcore New York bands. So I have to figure out what the hell is going on with this music. And I finally got into them after seeing them twice in 1995, including what was supposed to be their last show ever, which ended up obviously not being. But I finally was just starting barely to get into them by that second show.
Well, Ben, let's go to you for your number 3.
All right. Number 3 is continuing on with the theme of bringing back the old shit. Mouthpiece Cinder. I think this might have made another Super 7 of mine. I'm not sure. I know I've talked about it on this podcast before, but like Mouthpiece was. Do you remember, Zach?
Well, we did a side A, side B, and it may have made your Straight Edge. No, but we did a side A, side B. We've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
We also touched on this 7-inch on the 7-hour Youth Crew revival pod.
Right. We must. Yeah, because this is a big deal. This is like the end of Mouthpiece and really the beginning of the movement that they were trying to get going that entire time. And Cinders kind of stands alone. It's kind of it's got a very much a Dag Nasty thing, and no other Mouthpiece songs do. And there's also a music video for it where they're in an elevator.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are they going? Floor 1 or floor 2?
Yeah. Great band. I know they're one of these bands where like the drumming isn't perfect, and like I guess that rubs people the wrong way. Kind of the way some people can't get into Rush because they can't stand the way the singer sounds. Like people feel that way about the drummer of this band, but like I like it. It adds character to it. I don't know why. There are other bands with bad drummers that do disturb me, but this is like, I like it.
Well, it doesn't matter on the song.
Right, exactly.
It's a mid-tempo song. It's very melodic in the chords, but Tim's voice is perfect on it. You know, like he does just such a great shout. And like we've talked about before with Lance Wells from Faded Grey, and I can't remember who else we were referencing that sounded like Lance. He does like the good job of like holding out the last word, you know, da ba da ba, da ba da ba. Like it's just really cool.
Yeah, he has an amazing voice. I've always loved Tim's voice. He's sung for bands that like wouldn't have been that good if it was someone else singing for them.
And
all I have to add for this one, it's a great tune, but this was a mic stand era Mouthpiece, which was a little jarring.
And now look at hardcore in 2021.
Yeah. Someone's mic is doing something weird. Do you guys hear that?
Yeah. And now it's gone.
And now it is gone. Okay, Dan, let's go to you for your number 2 or your number 3.
Okay, I am gonna go, since, both my heroes, Pops and Bedge, have gone the major label route, I'm gonna do it as well. I am going Accident Prone by Jawbreaker.
When did I go the major label route?
I don't know. Mouthpiece, weren't they on Mercury?
Yeah, Arista. They were Arista, dude.
They're on Columbia. That's right.
Dan has PTSD from that whole diatribe on the group text today when you sent like 20 messages in a row about how you could pick all major label bands from this year.
Yeah, exactly. Zach's right. I woke up and went, Bedge! Bedgenium! All right. Accident Prone, Jawbreaker off of Dear You. Dear You, when it came out, was very polarizing. I think they touch on it on the Jawbreaker documentary, which is very good because the Jawbreaker documentary is great because lots of docs about bands leave you feeling like nostalgic and, what a great time. They were such pals. the Jawbreaker doc makes you feel like, I'm so glad they got away from each other, and then the doc comes out right as they get back together, which is very ironic and funny. But Blake has always been an incredible lyricist, without a doubt. Accident Prone has the tunefulness and the kind of gritty tunefulness that you would find on a Kiss the Bottle version, song of Jawbreaker. And I think the lyrics are incredible to this, and I think it is an amazing song. And it's one I come back to all the time, where, as with Dear You, which was an important record to me at this time, especially while I was away from home, and I sunk my whole, listening into it. The thing about Dear You now, not all of it holds up. People put it on a pedestal that it's this genius record. I think there's other Jawbreaker that I come back to more, but this song really rises above the fray of this LP. I like Jet Black, I like Lurker as well, but this is my favorite off the LP, and I think it is an incredible piece of songwriting.
I think Jawbreaker is going to get hit again, but I could be wrong. You guys have takes on this?
Yeah. I can add one thing that has nothing to do with it. I love Dear You. When the record came out, there was a contest on Buddyhead to win a Fireman promo 7-inch. I don't remember what the contest was, but I won it, and those losers actually sent me the big hole 7-inch of Fireman, which I still have. So as much as those dudes are dorks, hey, thank you for the nostalgia.
Hell yeah. How about that? All right, I'm going to take my number 3.
Wait, I want to talk about Jawbreaker.
All right, go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, the elephant in the room is that this album was hated by Jawbreaker fans when it came out, and it never bothered me. Then again, I wasn't a big Jawbreaker fan till after this. But
I would say it was polarizing amongst Jawbreaker fans. I think there were some that were totally on board, and then, yet again, referencing the documentary, there were so many people that were pissed off at the major label signing, plus the fact that his voice sounded so much more produced and cleaned up. So I think it was 50-50 in my memory that, yeah, lots of people hated it, but I think a lot of people were liking it as well.
Yeah,
Ben,
I thought it was good. Huh?
No, did you have anything to say on that? Because it sounded like you started and then Daniel finished for you.
Oh, yeah. I thought this album was pretty good. Not every song is good. The song about the oyster is really bad. The song Million is really good. Save Your Generation is good. It's half and half. But there's the first couple albums that people fucking come in their pants about aren't great all the way through either. I mean, yeah, he sounds smoother when he sings. He doesn't sound like Popeye the Sailor Man like he does on the first 2 albums. But they can't all be 24-hour revenge therapy.
Yeah, you can't always get polyps removed from your fucking throat, too, Give a man put some respect on his mouth.
And the superior...
Or on his throat.
Unfortunately, the Superior Jaw Band didn't put out an album in 95.
Oh, they're not Superior.
Strong disagree.
Yeah, major disagree. Also, when I first got this record, instead of I scratched my accidents into the wall, I used to think he was saying I scratched my ass upon the wall. So there you go.
All right.
My number 3, I'm taking I Don't Want to Grow Up by the Ramones. And this is the Ramones covering a Tom Waits song. And unlike Rod Stewart, unlike the Eagles, they don't butcher Tom Waits. They make it just as good, if not maybe better. This is a great Tom Waits song. It's off his album Bone Machine 92. The Ramones cover it pretty quickly after. This is on their 1995 album Adios Amigos, which is their last LP. And I believe it's the first song on the record. I don't own the record. But this song fucking rules. And for mid-tempo drivey punk, I love attention to detail on the hi-hat. And this song does it properly. On the verses, he'll be doing closed double time hi-hat. and then he like opens it up sometimes, or he switches the cymbals or whatever. But like, just that drivey open guitar with the closed hi-hat is so ill on the verses, and this just sounds like a great classic Ramones song, but it's a cover. I love it. Are you guys familiar with this song?
I love that tune, and I didn't get Adios Amigos when it came out, and that song was in a 411 skateboarding video, and I was immediately like, that it's a promo, right? I immediately went and bought the record because I was like, this is fucking awesome. This whole thing has to be cool. And yeah, I think it's one of those cases where a band can make a song their own, or at least add something to it. And I think it sounds like a Ramones song, and it's perfect.
Yeah, and Tom Waits actually covered them as well, and like did a good job.
When Tom Waits wrote this song, was the idea, I'm going to write a song in the style of the Ramones, or was it just like a coincidence?
No, it's like it's just him and the guitar. There's no like drums or anything on the Tom Waits song.
Okay. This is the only song on this Ramones album that I like.
Oh, that's hilarious because it's the first song. Oh,
Yeah.
sick. My install is done. But yeah, Tom Waits, he covers Jackie and Judy, and it's pretty ill also. But I think the Ramones do better than Tom. And that's fucked up. Only the first song's good. I mean, that's so like CD era.
Yeah.
have
It's
to
good,
say-
good marketing.
There were so many. Just to go back to what Anthony was talking about, there's so many skate videos turned me on to bands. Not saying that they would turn me on to the Ramones, but so many skate vids like did that, and now I think the only like equivalent of something like that is like watching a show on HBO and then going, what was that song in that part? Or like, you know, I know a friend hit me up and was asking me about John Cooper Clarke after evidently Chicken Town is used at the end of a Sopranos episode. But it's so funny. Like, skate videos were a huge gateway into checking out new bands.
Yeah, Shazam is the truth, huh? It's so ill when you like hear a song somewhere and you're like, oh shit, let me just Shazam that and figure out what it is. Although it sucks when you're in a Tijuana strip club and you can't get service. Okay, Pops, let's go to you for your number 3.
I guess I'm going to pick a hardcore song for this one. And
Oh, what?
it's going to be Los Crudos en mi opinión. So the song's about toxic masculinity. It's from the split with Spitboy. What I loved about Los Crudos is that they kind of, to a fault, like they record. If I had any critique of this band, is that the recordings are almost like a little too gnarly. But you know, seeing that band at that time, and for Martine to be like, listen, I'm going to talk for fucking 2 minutes before I play a 50-second song, and have something to say, and really, not in a confrontational way, just in an interesting way, engage with the audience, and then to sing a song about toxic masculinity from his perspective of being a Latin person and from like the neighborhood. And then what I love about that band is that they're singing in Spanish. If you want to figure out what they're saying, if you really want to drill down, you want to translate or whatever. It's a level of care in saying, like, we're going to do it this way. We're going to bring it back to basics. And so if you really think about it this way, you have Los Crudos playing on one level, right? Like smaller shows. And then you have, say, Strife. And it's not detracting from Strife at all. It's just a parallel. Strife playing like a 400 cap club. And they're both doing something vital. They're both doing something interesting. And I'm kind of bringing it back to why 95's really cool. But I thought Los Crudos were hitting the reset button in a way. And I just love that band. That split isn't my favorite material from them, but in looking at the year and thinking about like, what was I listening to that year? I really love that split. And Yeah, I mean, think about Zach De La Rocha wearing the illegal EK T-shirt. It's pretty powerful, and I think they're still a powerful band, if not grossly underrated for what they did and what they still represent.
Yeah, Kudos kicks ass, and I love any band that has a message like that. Like the more I don't know, I've heard a lot of people get shit over the years for talking between songs, but if hardcore doesn't stand for anything, then like really, what's the point? You know, like I like the music to have a message. It's what makes the music special.
Especially if you know how to talk. Like Martine, absolutely. Like he wasn't just babbling; it was thoughtful, and it was also what was really nice is like opening a dialogue. Like the second time I saw them was in Boston at a church basement, and we ended up talking, and then the band came over and stayed at my house, and it wasn't like a Punisher situation. It was like, oh wow, we're just going to keep this dialogue open and just hang out all night. Like I really think that's a very cool thing. And then what did they say? Hey, we're playing Western Mass tomorrow. Would you guys like to come out and hang out? You know, and like that's, I don't know. It's kind of like put your money where your mouth is situation of like, oh, we're all vibing on things. And yeah, I don't know. I think as a young man, like I think I was 19 around this time, or 19 or 20, and to be exposed to someone talking to me, and this is a little, it's a little hokey, but it's okay to be talking about politics and to hear the perspectives of someone whose parents had been involved in, radical situations and trying to like relate them to how you think about the world right now. That's very powerful as a young man. And I don't know, that to me is hardcore, right? A hardcore is not just a song being played in my headphones. Hardcore is an interactive space. And I think to have something like that I could engage with, be around, and also champion was very powerful. And yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't include them on the list.
Yeah, he's a perfect spokesman too for taking people a little out of their comfort zone. I mean, like, how fucking white is hardcore in the mid 90s? You know what I mean? Like, and he's confronting you, like singing all the songs in Spanish. It's good, to like wake people up a little bit. And like later with doing Limp Wrist, like how macho and like straight male oriented is hardcore in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Like he's like busting that open too.
Yeah, it also not just someone doing it for shock value, someone who's a student of hardcore. So it's like you're not going to know more about hardcore than this cat. You know what I mean? Like he studied it left and right, and he knows how to be provocative. And I just thought that was like such a unique talent.
I love when there are those people in the scene that almost have the star power and use it in the most intellectual way to make people think, to challenge, to make you uncomfortable. I love it. And not only that, he has an amazing book of hardcore photography as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Ben, let's circle back to you. Number 4.
All right, number 4. I'm gonna pick a bunch of straight white males. No, I'm just actually I'm not gonna go there. But that might be the case. Outspoken Spark. This is the last song ever recorded and ever released by Outspoken. And it is so much more advanced sounding than anything they did before it. It has all these different parts and it's like really musical. It has a really good bass intro and it has those classic inspirational Outspoken lyrics, don't let this world drag you down type lyrics. And I just thought they're not one of those bands where I'm like, what if they stuck around and did another album that sounded like this? It's like, I can't imagine a whole album of songs that sound like this. Is kind of like their epic masterpiece, like swan song. It's like really long and it has a lot of parts. It's kind of like their It's kind of like their mini opera. I just think it might be the best Outspoken song ever. Any thoughts on that?
Well, they do the same thing as Unbroken, right? Like their classic material is the LP, but their follow up to their classic is a slight right turn where they do something that might even be better. You know, so it's like there's a lot of people that say like this is the best Outspoken material. A lot of people say that Unbroken 7-inch, the last two, are their best material. But I don't think it's debatable like what their classic material is. And they're right there in the same lane.
Yeah, the only what if I have with Outspoken is what if he didn't use a cordless mic on tour? That is a real bum out. It was just such a bummer. You know what I mean? Like,
Hey, at least it wasn't the Billy Bio Madonna head mic.
that's true. That's true.
Hey, put some respect
Hey,
on Paula
don't-
Abdul's name.
Yeah, don't talk shit on Upfront 3-piece style, man. It's fucked up.
Yeah, no, Ben, this song is great. And you're right. It might be the best Outspoken song, even though the LP is like where I land. You know,
And it's think about it. It's like the very end of Outspoken, and they're telling you to ignite the spark. You know, this is like the torch being passed. Like, keep this shit going. Although I don't know if they already knew they were breaking up when they recorded this.
Dan,
I cannot say it's an awesome song, but yo, Animals slaughtered by the millions. That's way sicker.
gotta try
Yeah.
to save them.
Because it's the yo that gets me.
Yeah, but that's not in 1995, is it?
No, it's not, but it's a better song.
91 maybe. Dan, let's go to you. Number 4.
All right. Okay. I'm going to go with Earth Crisis, The Wrath of Sanity. I think this song is incredible. I like Destroy the Machines a lot, but this and The Discipline are the two standouts for me. Forced March is also very good, but this song is basically, this song could have been on All Out War, but with, you know, the Carl approach of Destroy the Machines. Like, musically, this is very off the All Out War and going into Firestorm era. I absolutely love it. It's an incredible ode to veganism, breaking the cages, etc. of that. Basically, the one thing that I feel Earth Crisis have always done when it comes to the topic of animal rights is they dramatize it to be in such a, you know, it's very melodramatic, but because the thing is so subterranean in our culture that we go to a supermarket and stuff's on the shelf and we don't have to think about what that takes, you know? And Earth Crisis are really good about really dramatizing the fact that there are slaughterhouses everywhere. There are, you know, animals being tested on in cages and all of that stuff. And they bring it to you in such a way that it almost has like the first line to this song is Night of Justice, and then Night of Justice with the K. So it's like, you know, we're going out tonight and we're just going to murk the people who are running slaughterhouses, you know? It's
Dan, not the people, the demons.
Well, true. The demons run through Victory Records in 1995, whether it be from Dwid, whether it be from Carl Buchner, whether it be, I don't know if Bloodlet have demonic lyrics, but I think musically this is just, I would say, the final piece of Earth Crisis musically before they started to lose me a bit going on the next record and stuff. But it, like I say, it could have been on All Out War, the way it sounds, the way the song is structured. But there's so many great parts in this, and the way the guitar starts, it just, Oh, it's so fucking good. Like, listen to this on the playlist that we put together. Wrath of Sanity, Earth Crisis. This is 1995 in a fucking nutshell, and it deserves this place on this discussion, and it is incredible. And Earth Crisis, I always give them eternal respect because they are still doing it. They still mean it. They've never dropped off. I fucking love that. Plus, what they have done for the world, turning people onto animal rights or vegetarianism, veganism, is just as powerful as the Smiths doing Meat is Murder. They have been a beacon that has made things absolutely incredible for this, just the amount of probably people's lives they've enhanced through their music. Anyway, Earth Crisis, Wrath of Sanity. What do you all think?
And like the Smiths, they both have singers that sound like Muppets because Morrissey sounds like Kermit the Frog and Carl Crisis sounds like Cookie Monster.
Well,
but at least Carl Crisis is not a white nationalist.
Oh god,
yeah. That is a good thing. Although
Cookie Monster and Cookie Monster doesn't count as a Muppet, does he? Because he's on Sesame Street. He's not on the Muppet.
Oh, I thought he counted as a Muppet. If I'm wrong, then
he probably does. But I'm just pulling you up on your snooty remark. What do you think of this, Pops?
I've never heard it, so I don't have an opinion.
You've never listened to Destroy the Machines by Earth Crisis?
I've never heard it in my life. I don't. Yeah, only in Ben Choose's Mazda Miata. I heard it once, I think, but I don't really know the song. Yeah, I don't really like that band because, whatever. I don't want to be like the negative cat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think we can leave it at like.
Yeah, I just never heard it, so maybe I'll hear it and maybe I'll be psyched on it. Like, I'm going to be positive on that. I'm going to revisit it. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah. Look,
make sure you're in a Miata when you do it. Though.
I know. I'm gonna have to buy a vintage Miata to really get into it.
Well, right on. Okay.
What were you gonna say, Zach? I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, we know the importance of Earth Crisis, and this is their LP, so we know that that's like the proving ground, for hardcore bands. Lay it down on an LP. Here they are. They did it.
And they lose me on this one. They do, because I like the first 2 7-inches, and I don't like this one. But I'm going to listen to this song again because Dan says it sounds kind of like it could have been on those first 2 7-inches, so I'm going to give it another shot.
No, that's the best thing about these playlists is, not only is it the best stuff of whatever we're talking about, but it's, broken down to a single song. So I'm excited to revisit this.
The other thing before I do actually revisit that track is that I will never detract from the positive impact that band had on animal rights and the awareness. You have to, I don't use the word respect because I think that's corny. I think for a band to just be like, this is what we are, take it or leave it, fuck you, I don't care, and fly that flag when it's unpopular that's really powerful. And as Dan said, the imprint they've left and they continue to what they continue to carry on and have not wavered on that is awesome. So I might be speaking a little bit in jest, but I don't want to detract from the actual message that band has.
Well, shout out Victory Records because I'm going there too for my number 4. I am taking Bullshit Authority by Warzone off the split with Cause for Alarm. Originally came out on a shitty 10-inch, but recently got repressed on an epic 12-inch. So what's up with that? This song is so ill. It just grabs you on the snare fill. Bullshit authority, bullshit authority. It literally sounds like someone is grabbing you by your collar and shaking you, but then it cuts out and it goes to a perfect hardcore riff. Like you almost wouldn't write it yourself because you feel like it's too simple. But then when you hear it, you're like, oh my God, it's perfect. They went there. It comes out so ill. And then Raby's vocal cadence on the verses of this, he's just dancing on the top of that riff. It's so ill. The chorus is so catchy. And then the mosh part of the song is actually relatively brutal. Like it's not like the Youth Crew tempo. It's like on more of a drop tempo, and the whole thing is gang vocals. It's so ill, and this song is just perfect. I love this record so much. Everyone has got to check it out. The whole Warzone side is pretty perfect, including the Skinhead Warrior Girl song, which is, I know people clowned on it like at the time, but dude, it is catchy and there's a lot of gold in there. Like when he like is freestyling on the choruses, it is so ill, and you know, he has so much personality that jumps off the wax. You know, it is legit his best vocal performances other than the first LP. You know, and this is my favorite Warzone stuff other than Don't Forget the Struggle. Like by far, these two are like on top, you know?
Yeah.
Dan, what do you think about this?
Well, the Skinhead Warrior Girl, he must have played that barge in Paris. I mean, he's giving a shout out to the nouveau Warzone women. I knew this was going to be on your list. This is, I mean, you encouraged me a few years back to revisit this split because, you know, I had it and at the time, and you know, it's on the beautiful 10-inch format. Didn't get pulled out very often, and you're like, no, there's gold on that split. You need to go back, and you were right. I mean, and also just the charisma of Rabies just comes through, doesn't it? Like he's just so charismatic.
Yeah, you like this kind of gets lost, I think, because they put a lot of stuff out around this time on Victory. Like there's an LP that comes out that's like pretty good. And then also I think that don't they re-record like the Lower East Side and it comes out like there's just kind of a lot of stuff that comes out. So it makes sense for this to kind of get lost in that. But these 4 songs on this split are straight up gold. So good.
Also, the Victory LP comes out and the artwork is like, oh, so bad.
I mean, this LP art is not very good either. This 10-inch, it's like
True.
Revolutionary War. Like what?
Yeah, it's bad.
It's rough. It's rough. Pops, you got to take on this.
I just think it's cool, like kind of like going back to my take on this year is that some of the pioneers can come back and do things that are relevant and cool. You know, it's like we're at a point where punk and hardcore are almost self-referential, and it's like the Departure records, that's over now. You know, like everyone kind of learned from their mistakes, and we're in a spot where it's like, okay, can we just get back to like what we do best? And then a lot of bands did do what they did. They didn't do their best material, but they got it back to a level where it was like respectable and awesome. So to like be able to say, hey, go back to this, there's some gold, that's very cool, because I think that is really important rather than just saying like, let's move on and hardcore just has to be this other thing. We don't have to reinvent it. We can just go back to like what it actually was. So that's what I like about it. Like it's almost a little more symbolic than it is, you know, the greatest record ever, but also, hey, take it out of context and just look at it. There's some great tunes for sure.
Yeah. And around this time, they were doing big tours, you know, Business, etc. Like they were filling big rooms and being loved for it, you know, because they came back and did it correct instead of coming back and being washed up.
Pops, let's go to you for your number 4.
I'm going for a band and a song that is not super popular, but I think kind of gets lost in the revival talk. And so 95 is sort of the precursor to I hate the term, but like the Youth Crew revival. And the band that I think was doing it a little before that and did it well, but just didn't tour, didn't really, you know, get their accolades as Cornerstone. So I'm going to go Don't You Ever Say You Were. Kind of a bummer that initially it only came out on CD, but if you take that song, like it kind of like the recording's kind of shitty, it's kind of spazzy, there's scissor beats, it's kind of all over the place, but in a very, very charming way. And it's these Connecticut kids trying to channel straight ahead, but then it's still, there's something about Connecticut hardcore that is very innocent and sort of they're sort of emulating, but in their own unique way, and it just sounds very Connecticut. And seeing that band at that time, like they were the band that was flying the flag, and I don't know, they were just an important band in that era, and had they have like kept going, they probably would have prospered a little more. But in knowing those people, you know, there was such an age disparity in that band, and when I talk about that, we're talking like 3 years between members. It doesn't matter now, but 3 years where you're 14 and then someone's like going to college, you know, that's a big deal. But I really love like the harmonics in that song. They have like the gnarly dive bomb. Like they're students. They knew what they were doing. They were doing this thing that was very much like an homage and putting their spin on it. And I don't know. I just think Cornerstone, no one really like talks about them. And I'm not saying they're the greatest band in the world, but for that time period, for 1995, to see them and experience that band and kind of the energy and the spirit around them, it felt like, you know, like one of the last times I saw them was at this is a video where there's like I think it's called like the Hatebreed Riot. They played with Hatebreed, and it was in this warehouse in Connecticut, probably less than half a mile from the last location of the Anthrax. And it was like, I don't know, there's just something about being in a shitty parking lot in a shitty warehouse in shitty Connecticut, or Connecticut, whatever you want to call it, and everyone in this room just being excited about this thing. And it was a great time. So I just wanted to give them some shine because I think they're a great band.
And someone in that room getting hit with a proper mad ball.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This came out on Lost and Found. Did they ever get to go to Europe, Pops?
No, they didn't, because they broke up, and like just internally they were, like I was saying, like Toby I think was going to start his career, and then like other people were going to college. It was just they were all set up to go to Europe, and then it just never happened, which is unfortunate. But also it put a lot of energy into Fast Break, so that's cool too.
How many guys of this went on to be in Fast Break?
2. So the drummer, and then Steve Pica, and then the drummer quit. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Right on.
Right on. Steve Pica.
What's that?
Well, what did Steve Pica play in Cornerstone?
Guitar.
Okay. I didn't own this record until maybe 6 months ago. And I always knew it was around. I just never got around to buying it. And then I was like, I have to own this. I have to complete my Youth Crew collection. I think maybe it was because we did that Youth Crew, that 90s Youth Crew episode for 185 Miles South. And it inspired me to be like, okay, I got to fill in some gaps. And I like how there's a song on this that is entitled X Connecticut Crucial Kickbox X. That's a pretty cool song title.
Yeah, 'cause they're not like the style of band that you consider kickboxing to, you know? Ben, did you find this in the wild, or did you order it online?
I ordered it on Discogs, I think. Yeah, I must have.
Okay,
yeah.
right on. This would have been like an ill one to find in the wild.
Yeah, they're not the band that you think of when you think of Kickbox, but hey, Connecticut gonna Connecticut.
That's true. I mean, this is the year of the Hatebreed Neglect split. You know, changes everything. Not one truth. Holy shit. Surprisingly not making my list. Just because the recording. But what's up? Okay, Ben, let's go back to you for your number whatever.
5.
Okay.
This was tough for me because I was gonna pick Solid Bond by Civ, and I already shot my Civ load when Pops picked a Civ song, and he picked a song that's equally good. Like these are probably the two best Civ songs, so I feel like I have nothing left to say. Although that is a very
Give Ben one line of coke, and he's talking about people coming in their pants, shooting loads. Jesus Christ!
I know we should do this every pod. Like hook this dude up, man.
But I'm inspired by Dan's last pick because he picked a band that I don't consider hardcore at all, which is 95 Year Earth Crisis. And so I'm going to pick another band that I don't consider hardcore at all for my pick, which is Into Another Locksmiths and Lawyers. This is the drummer of Bold, Drew Thomas, and the singer of Underdog, guitarist of Youth of Today, Richie Birkenhead. Their weird prog metal, hard rock, who knows what the fuck you'd call it, band from the 90s that eventually ends up on Hollywood Records, which is a Disney label. And they put out this album, Seamless, in 1995. And this is just this weird kind of like, if Alice in Chains were good, this is what it would sound like, kind of. But I don't know. That's still selling it short. Like, Richie is a very intelligent person, and you can tell by the lyrics. Like, the whole point of like locksmiths and lawyers is like these are two professions that would not exist if people were honest, because you wouldn't need to lock your door and you wouldn't need to sue someone. So it's just this really emotional song, and I know everything is probably inspired by something that happened in real life, and I don't know the story behind this specifically, but like it really resonated with me, and I listened to it a lot when it came out.
Ben, I have a huge bone of contention with you. I'm a very honest person. I've locked myself out of my house, and I've had to call a locksmith. I was not dishonest in leaving my keys somewhere.
No.
You need to lock it in the first place.
That's the point. The point is locks wouldn't exist because you could leave your door open and no one would steal from you. That's the point.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
But are you a fan?
I'm gonna well, I don't know, man. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love this band. I think they're fantastic, and I like what you said, that like it's an intelligent Alice in Chains or something. Like, much like Slip, when this record came out, they're like, "Whoa, this is a left turn." I'm like, "Is it really?" It's a better produced version of this band. Like, what? Like, you're gonna turn your back on a band that was already weird? That's a strange one.
Yeah. That's not intelligent. Roll my nose in shit. That's all I got.
I think they had the same producer, so there's little bits and pieces that kind of are Alice in Chainsy, but they're such good musicians, and Richie Birkenhead is such a good singer. It's like they're so ahead of everything, but they're also kind of weird, so it makes sense that they didn't really hit big.
I don't think they fit anywhere, unfortunately. It's like, I don't want to be like, they were so original, no one got it, but like they don't fit into a lane where like a dude who likes Nickelback or a dude who likes Tool, like they're a very specific band, and probably to their own detriment. But what was weird is they were huge in hardcore. Like, they were a huge headlining band. I probably saw that band more than any other band I've ever seen, which is really weird to think about. Like, go to see them like all over the East Coast, and there would always be 500 people. And then that was their cap for whatever reason. And I don't know. I just think like they're a hard band to market. They're probably too heady or something, but yeah, I think they're fantastic.
They are to Rev what Shudder to Think is to Discord. Like, you have a
absolutely
falsetto singer, super duper weird, but so talented they got scooped up and signed to a major label and like failed as a major label band because they're fucking weird.
Yeah, and we just should say this is on Revelation Records. Shout out to the Where It Went podcast. What's up? And Dan, let's go to you for your number 5.
All right, number five. Okay, so I've already gone here. I've already gone there.
Is everyone in a spreadsheet right now? Because I am.
No, I made a mini playlist with like 20 songs that I had. So I'm looking through my Spotify playlist to see.
Dan, come on. What's your favorite song off Out Come the Wolves?
Well, okay, Journey to the End of the East Bay.
Yeah.
That's my next pick. That is the best song on the LP. This is the lyrical tale of Operation Ivy imploding from the nostalgic 6-year look back by Tim Armstrong. We've talked bass intros. Matt Freeman can certainly play bass, and the intro of this is fucking so good. And it's so catchy. It is it is, you buy into the nostalgia. Your heart is filled with a sense of longing for friends. Also, yes, I mention it again. I was all the way on the other side of the world, missing all of my friends, missing my mum and everyone back in England, missing all my friends in San Diego, and talking about bands ending. I used to sing in a punk band called Swindle, and because I joined the Navy, I couldn't do that anymore. So this hit me extra hard, nostalgic wise, because it was essentially the end of my involvement with that band. And I mean, I absolutely loved Rancid first 3 records. I mean, I like Rancid in general, but the first 3 records meant and do mean a lot to me. And this song is, listening to it in the preparation for this pod is really great, because he talks about someone moving from New Orleans like to come to the East Bay, because he's like, oh, this is a mecca, like I'm coming to Gilman, blah blah blah, and it's like, oh shit, this place fucking sucks.
Yeah. This ain't no mecca, man. This place is fucked.
Yeah, exactly. And then Matty went back to New Orleans.
Adios.
Yeah, but it I think that's really great. But yeah, God, what a song.
Yeah.
What an LP.
Yeah, great LP, top 3 song off the LP. I'm not going to take a song, I don't think, off it. But it's so hard because I might listen to this album more than anything from 95. You know? It's just, I want stuff on here. God, I love this song. I love that checking out the MIA song too, even though there's a bad word in that song. And then, God, what's the other one I got? Anyway.
What's the one you picked, Dan? What's the song?
Journey to the End of East Bay.
I see.
Yeah. Ben, you were never a Rancid fan. Pops, are you a Rancid fan at all?
I'm not a Rancid fan, but I'm a Rancid admirer. Like, I've seen them several times, and it's like, it's not my thing. But that being said, I'm not going to be like one of those people who's like, not my thing, but I get it. No, it's not my thing, but they're great. You know what I mean? Like, I understand their greatness, and I think they're important. You know, like, someone needs to recontextualize the roots of punk and hardcore and do it very well. And I mean, who better? Like, they're a great band. They're just not like a band I'm jamming that much, but I mean, I don't know. Like, there's not, you can't really say like, I can't say a bad thing about them. And I think that's very admirable and very cool. And also, like, do I know their songs without owning a record? Yeah, I do. So like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
What's
Tim and
interesting
Laura
about them? Oh, sorry, Zach. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what's interesting about Rancid is that they have taken on, post this LP, they've taken on almost like conceptually doing an album in a thematic way. Like, they did their Jamaica record, which, you know, is the total like Clash nod.
Mhm.
They did their return to absolute brutality, Rancid 2000. You know, they're definitely knowing that they're a band that has longevity, so let's do things that are very interesting.
Yeah, I love it. Tim and Lars, 2 great American songwriters. Okay, my number 5, I am taking 51 Days by No Use for a Name. And this song is ill. It's about the David Koresh stuff. And, you know, as someone that loves all the, not all, but like the best of the Epitaph and Fat Wreck stuff, I get offended when it all gets lumped in to like a pile of just being like dumb shit. You know, Dan, I know you love Blink, but like, I feel like a lot of that ran downstream on this stuff. And also NoFX being like one of the biggest bands of the genre and having a lot of stupid lyrics. Like, a lot of these bands like did their best lyrically, you know, and No Use for Name is no slack. Like, I can't wait for everyone to listen to the song on the playlist. It's very powerful. It's a fast song. Ben, there's no breakdown, so you're stoked. And it's just, I don't know, it's so powerful. Like, the way the chords progress And also, like, the drummer is pretty crazy because he hits a cymbal every single time the chord changes, but it works really well. And also on this song, they do ring outs, but the chord progression is pretty fast. So on the verse, when it's just ringing out, it doesn't get boring. But then when it kicks into like it's not really like a chorus. It's like the second verse, I guess. He starts strumming and it's just like, oh my God, with like the powerful drums and like adding the guitar strumming. It's just so intense. Like, oh my God, this is like some of the most intense music I've ever heard. And this just gets written off as being like dumb melodic new school punk bullshit. And there's really layers to this that are really good. And I think that this song is one of the best of the genre. And really this album, Leche Con Carne, is great. But I want everyone to check this out and appreciate it and know that like to write off a genre is just really dumb. Like I'm not a fan of post-hardcore, but you know, we've done over 100 podcasts. You don't hear me like shitting on it. You know what I mean? Like I know that like we've gone on and on about how I don't think Fugazi is a hardcore band, but I'm not saying that Fugazi is a shitty band. And I just don't speak on the things that I don't like because I think that if you don't take the time to understand something, maybe you just shouldn't speak on it. And that's all. You know, just say it's not for me or whatever and move on. But to like brush stuff off is a little lame. Anyway, that's my choice. 51 Days, No Use for a Name. I don't know if you guys have anything on this or if we go on to Pops for his number 5.
Well, I would say that I was impressed with the singer of this band's lyrics on The Daily Grind and then on this LP. Definitely standing apart from, as Pops will call him, Fat Michael, going, dive into a pile of puke. I definitely do take that into, and also the musicianship of No Use for a Name. They were always riding that fine line of like almost metal creeping in, like in a interesting way, you know. Yeah, I think that's a great pick, and I think it's great to also bring up like don't just shit on things entirely. Like there, you know, that's like saying, you know, if there's a few books in a library you hate, fuck that library. Like that's stupid, you know.
Great point. I mean, I look at it this way. This No Use for a Name to me is specifically of their time, of their place, of their location, and that's really important. So if you want a little snapshot of a certain place, it's that music, and that doesn't happen anymore, you know, because we live in a time now where it's like you can recreate whatever you want and it's ahistorical. Whereas I think there's something very important to look back and be like, this music was a product of the time. It was a melding of things. They hadn't been done before. It's like metallic pop punk, but it's also, you know, still hardcore because they're coming from hardcore roots. And so to dismiss it and just be like, oh, it's fart rock or whatever, I don't think that's the move. You know, I think about the songwriting, think about the, it's kind of an analog for all the arguments we get into where there's no nuance. It's like, think about where something came from, what they were trying to do, and just jam the music, because guess what? It's all free now. You can stream it and you can come to your own conclusion, which is a really nice way that we exist right now. You know, it's like someone speaking with reverence about this music. Go check it out and try to see that it is very much referential to a bunch of things. It's not ahistorical. And so, I mean, I like that band, so I think it's cool.
I will say they did themselves no favors with like the video off this album though, because it's every single shit trope you do think about this genre. Like, okay, the singers,
but also who saw it? You know what I mean? Like,
hey, everyone that got cinema beer goggles, motherfucker. So, but no, it's like the singer playing guitar and making stupid faces when he sings, and then fucking snowboarding. You know, it's just like, oh, stop it, dude.
And then fivesomes with a hot snowboarding chick.
Yeah, walks in on a naked girl. Oh my god, tits! Like, It's so fucking stupid and does such a disservice to like a band that is actually like stand out from this genre. But anyway, Pops, let's go to you for number 5.
I'm going very simply Undertow Control. I hope Discogs didn't do me a disservice on 95, but I thought Undertow was kind of like trying to be the inside out of their era and doing a very good job. I had the pleasure of being in a band with Ryan Murphy, who's an incredible drummer. And I don't know. I just think it wasn't fast hardcore, although like the last track on that 7-inch is a ripping hardcore track. But I think of the lyrics. I just think of the simplicity. I think of the aggression, and it's very emblematic of the time. It's like we're not trying to do everything that came before. We're trying to advance it, and I don't know. I just feel like that band, they're almost so obvious that they don't get mentioned enough. So unless I'm historically incorrect, I'm gonna drop the mic there.
No, I think that they are kind of like underrated because like I would say Outspoken, Unbroken, and then go straight here to Undertow, right? Of like those early mid 90s bands and Mouthpiece, where it's like sonically they're definitely not old school, but there's like an old school like current running through it, even though they're progressive musically. I don't know. It's because it's not like the metal, but it's, I don't know. Dan,
Right.
can you
It's like a new age thing. It's like a new age, like
very new age, right?
They weren't on new age, but they kind of should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And just before I shoot it off to Dan or whoever, there's a great discography the Indecision put out called Everything. So everyone get that. I believe it's still available. Otherwise, check it out on Spotify. Dan, what do you think about this band and this song?
I mean, someone just mentioned it, criminally underrated band. What's interesting about Undertow is the kids that were around when Undertow was around, that are still around, ride hard for this, So the impact that they had on those people still matters today greatly. It's not a band that many generations of today are going back and checking in on, as they should, and riding for it, like in the way that Unbroken finds new fans every single year. Undertow still finds new fans every single year, I'm sure, but not to the extent of like historical worship that happens with Unbroken. But Undertow should, because they are a powerful band. And if this is 95, which is probably very early 95, because Nine Iron Spitfire starts kind of going around the end of the year, but I mean, great pick. I love Undertow is on this list, and I think
I saw them in 95.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think this was probably 95. I saw them. Mark refers to it as like their reunion tour, which is weird because it's like, so you guys broke up in 94 and no one knew it, and you got back together in 95, like very briefly. I don't know, but the huge influence on Unbroken, even down to the equipment they use. And Mark told me the first time they went to San Diego, they were playing like Les Pauls through Fender M80 amps, and the second time they went to San Diego, Unbroken was playing Les Pauls through Fender M80 amps, and those are very specific things. That's not like, Gibson Marshall, everyone has it. It's like very specific. So I don't think it was a coincidence.
Yeah, and I mean, they're like brother bands anyway, but I think Undertow and Pettibone in general, like the legacy, actually Murph, everyone, like, Mark went on to be in Shift, like whatever, they just had a big musical output beyond the band. And,
Yeah, to build off that, like so from being on the East Coast, when they would come out, those were events, and it was really cool to, a band that like maybe at the time it wasn't in wide distribution. Like maybe there's 5,000 copies of what they're doing, and for everyone to get like everyone was like, everyone within like a tri-state area was going to go and go see Undertow and go off.
Yeah.
And that's like, like especially in an era where you don't have access to music, you can't just be like, oh, I'm familiar with it. There might be kids there that are like mouthing the words like they don't really know them, but they're hyped. And that's like a funny phenomenon. So,
well, the great thing is if you're up front in 95 at an Undertow show and they play Cutting Away, you don't really need to know that much, but it is the fucking most hype, like upfront experience you're going to have.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. This is awesome to get on the list. And Ben, let's go to you. Round number 6.
Round 6. Okay. Here, if you think Undertow is criminally underrated, man, you're going to be like, who is this band Ben is talking about? Because I don't even know who they are. But I thought they were a big deal for their time. I missed them when they were around, but I thought they had a lot of fans. But maybe they've just completely fallen through the cracks. Falling Forward, Wraparound Suit. So Falling Forward was from Louisville, Kentucky, and Louisville had a big scene in the 90s because they had Endpoint, and Falling Forward and Kindle would be another one. And in the Midwest in general, you had Split Lip in Indianapolis. And I always lump those bands together. I think of them as part of this scene that's very emotional hardcore, but it's not emo. It's like its own Midwest thing that's like it's too hardcore to be emo, or it's too mainstream to be like those kind of Council Records basement band emo core bands. But it's not like straightforward hardcore. It's not Youth Crew, and it's not metal. So it's like I really love Falling Forward, and they're one of those bands where I thought, oh, the 90s, most things didn't stand the test of time, and now I find myself listening to this a lot again, like I did in the 90s when I first heard it. Wrap Around Suit is the song, and I think they did like 2 7-inches in 95, and that was kind of the end. And then the singer ended up being the singer of the band Elliot, who actually did end up becoming very popular. And they kind of more are like an emo band, definitely, than Falling Forward. But Falling Forward was like one of these fall on the ground crying type of bands that was very of its time. So anyone other than myself know who this band is?
Yeah, I saw them. So they played like the Boston area quite often with Endpoint, and they were always one of those bands that like people wouldn't be familiar with the music, but the performance got people into it. They were just like, they had a presence, and that was really interesting. And then after, it was one of those things that grew exponentially because people were like, fuck, what, like this band's going for it. Why don't I know them? And then the next time more people knew them. And yeah, I just think like, I think I saw them 3 times, which is kind of weird, just that they came to Boston 3 times, right? Like very random. But every time they were a bigger band, and yeah, I thought they were great. Like I haven't gone back to this, and now I'm like looking forward to going back to it. But I thought, I mean, you nailed the description of like what they sounded like and what they fit in. They weren't a roll around the floor screamo band. They weren't a straight up hardcore band. I think they were doing something interesting, but the way they presented it in the live format, they sounded very good. They presented very well. And yeah, I'm actually, you got me hyped to revisit it.
Good singer too. Like really, like I think he's a good singer. And they had an old timey, like from a visual, like a design standpoint, there was an old timey aesthetic that was cool because it was before it got played out, and it turned into like microbrewery guys growing beards and pretending that they live in the 1890s thing that we have now. This was like way before that.
I love that this, this, God, I can't even say genre because it's not exactly a genre, but I love that this segment of hardcore is being represented in this because it is quintessential 1990s, mid 90s. There was a band that I was really playing with being on my list, Anasarca, which was a little bit more on the screamo side of things, but all of this stuff, and then later, as it became, what Ben described as going a bit more like college-y, I suppose, with Chamberlain and stuff like that. I mean, I rode for all of this at the time. Going back to what we were saying, like at these formative times of listening to music, you're just inhaling all of it and loving it all, or picking and choosing what you love, but not shutting down to genres like because of cool points or anything. I love that this is represented, Ben. I'm sorry.
Dan, I would say, you're not picking genres, but I think that's like us on the pod, right? And like the people that have kind of lasted in hardcore were the people that liked big pieces of this thing. Like the majority of people did choose one little silo they liked, and they liked it for a couple years and washed out.
One thing I want to speak of is that, and it's very specific to the time when you were denied information where you didn't like stream the music. And this isn't a slight, I'm not being the old guy, but when you went to a show and you're like, it's like Falling Forward, X members of, or like however it was described to you, and you weren't familiar with the band, there was an onus on them to show up a little harder. So if they made you a fan after where they played and you're like, fuck, I don't know any of those songs, and then you want to go to their merch table and see what they have for sale, which isn't a merch table, it's more or less just like a box on the floor. That's very powerful, and I like that exploration of like, you actually do have to prove it in the live setting to not to win me over, because it's not about like, you're not trying to convince me, you're just putting your art out there, and then you're saying like, do you react to it? And I like that real-time one-on-one exploration. And the better bands, which is probably why Ben picked them, the better bands are able to do that. And like, obviously, the singer going on to Elliott and being successful, there's something about that, like charisma or earnestness or whatever. But I do think that's like I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just a lost thing where you're in a room, you don't know what this band is, and it's not like you're like, oh, I know when the mosh part is, so I'm going to do this cool move, and then like the camera's going to pick me up, and I'm going to be on the YouTube video. It's very just it's very personal. Of like, fuck, I don't know this, and I wanted to react to it more, and that was sort of the visceral reaction to Falling Forward that I had.
Yeah, well, what I'll say about that, Anthony, is that you may have heard mention of them in a zine. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That's where we're getting this info, and we're excited to check them out because it was one of the more positive record reviews in the zine that you have, but you haven't gone out and bought the record yet.
Yeah. And I remember the very first time I ever went to Headline Records, this is the thing I bought. So there's that sort of built-in nostalgia. And I think I listened to it because I like the name of the band. Like, it just sounded straight edge, like Falling Forward. There's something so 90s straight edge about that band name. That's just so cool. It's such a perfect time capsule of, all they're missing are the X's on either side of their name. But then again, they're kind of emo-y, so that wouldn't make sense.
Dare I say they're 2.5?
Oh, Dan, let's get started.
Dan, let's go to you for your number 6.
Okay, so I was just mentioning that, now I've got really hyped on just this discussion, and like the Anasarca song is really, playing on my mind. But I'm going to go a very different direction from that, and I'm going to go Quick Check Girl by the Bouncing Souls. Now, this is off the Bouncing Souls LP called Maniacal Laughter, and there are some really great songs on this. But this song in particular is an incredible song. It is just great pop masterpiece. The lyrics are really great about going to essentially the Jersey Shore. Shout out Snooki. It's so catchy. And also they talk about French fries with vinegar, respect to that. It is really catchy. Bouncing Souls are a band that can make me cringe often, but sometimes they just write a fucking amazing masterpiece of a song. And this is their best song out of any of their LPs, even though there are some great other songs like Hopeless Romantic and a few others. This is their best song. And I'm sure maybe, not everyone's familiar with it, but I urge you to listen to the playlist, and maybe, it won't speak to you as much, and maybe it's the nostalgia that is just making this make my list, but I fucking love it. I'll fuck with this song till the day I die.
I don't think it's just nostalgia. I think they have their first two albums are great, and they hold the test of time, and then there's a steady decline after that. And they just put out so many records. But like the first time I ever heard this band is when I saw them open for Youth Brigade in 7 Seconds at the same place I saw Strife, 3 or 4 months later. I just had to get the album. And then this album came out the next year and it was great too. And I almost picked the BMX song for my list. Almost made the list.
Well, right on. How about that? Okay. I am going to take...
It's pop punk. Don't you like it, Zach?
Yeah, but it's Scally Cap and like Nautical Star.
That came later.
It's before, yeah.
Well, the bass player was like that, but that culture developed on later records.
Look, dude, I want silly faces and snowboarding.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you don't like Bad Luck Rock, dude. I feel you, man.
Let's see here. I am going to take Fly's First Class, the first song off Good Riddance, Forgotten Country. Again, another band on Fat Records that stands out, has good lyrics. This song kicks ass. The way it starts with just the guitar by itself, then it's drum ring outs, and then it kicks in on a mid-tempo beat, and then Russ's vocal cadence over the verses is like so fast and rad. And then, I don't know, it's like walking the line between new school and hardcore. And it's absolutely great. This recording is strange in a way that it's like kind of thin. Like it almost just sounds like it's one guitar, but it's like one of those things that can't be replicated. And so it's the same way that we talk about early 80s hardcore, kind of like the recording is part of the band. This recording is like part of this album. It's like an extra member, and it gives it like that character. And then these dudes are just serious. Like Russ writes very serious lyrics. He writes good lyrics. Musically, this whole record rules. It's one of my favorite of all time. And I had a lot of trouble choosing a song off this. But fuck it. I'm taking the first song. And that's what's up. Pops, let's go to you for your number 6.
Wait, we can't talk about Good Riddance?
You can, but just keep it short because we're at 2 hours already.
I only own 3 things ever on Fat Records. One is this album. The other one is Short Music for Short People. And the other one is NoFX Fuck the Kids 7-inch, which I think it was a mistake. I'm not a fan. But this is, I got this when it came out. I think Boys and Girls is the standout track on it. And I saw them many times. They played many, many shows.
What Zach says about them being very serious is cool because they were playing to what my man Pops calls the fart rock crowd and bringing up some very serious topics. And Zach's going for that episode 1 vote.
Yeah, I got to give that episode 1 vote. What's up? Right on. Pops, let's go to you, number 6.
I'm going to keep it quick. You might not expect me to pick this, but okay. In the 1995, there's all these things bubbling up, so I want to talk about something. It's like chaos core. It's not my favorite thing, right? I really don't like chaotic music. I like chaotic music not in the hardcore realm, but this band, Dead Guy Apparatus, this song specifically, the refrain in the slow part, "Get your eyes off my back." So they're kind of doing like two things at once. They're doing like a Rollins band repetitive thing. They're also bringing like AMREP, specifically "Today Is the Day." It's the last Dead Guy material I really liked, and it's kind of like why I like Dead Guy at that time is like it's taking the metal of Rorschach, the elements of No Escape I like, and it's almost a little hardcore. Like it's a little more hardcore than they give themselves credit for. And after that, like I don't know what's that thing where they're screaming with the Dead Guy quintet or whatever, the quartet or whatever the fuck, like when they got a little like kitschy and they lost like the original members, not my thing. But Fixation on a Coworker era, the production's awesome. It's kind of a blueprint for a lot of things that again doesn't, I guess maybe people will reframe it when this Dead Guy documentary comes out. I believe it's coming out in September, but I think that's a ripping album. And if you saw them at that time, they were super confrontational. They were engaging with the crowd, like literally, like there's times where I would see them, when their 7 inches were out and when the album was out, where they're like bouncing off the crowd, like pushing the crowd, like really, the drums might be set up backwards. It was just interesting. And I think this is as far as I want chaotic hardcore to go without it being something that I'm not interested in. And I think that's just grounded by Tim Singer's vocals that are just so great. But I don't know. I wanted to include this band.
I think it's a great inclusion. This is another thing that I love this record, and I don't think I like anything that sounds like it. And I think you kind of described the mashup correctly. And I do think I like it because it is very Rorschach. That might be like the through line that I like so much about it. And yes, Killer. Dan, you love this as well.
Yeah, Tim Singer's voice, Jesus Christ, that is rage personified. Plus, you guys both just said it perfectly. This is summing up like where mathcore starts, and I don't want any mathcore at all in my life, but I like this uncomfortable listen that is Dead Guy. Like, oh my god, you're making me question, 4/4 is not like coming through, and it's making me feel weird, and it's making your song sound even angrier and crazier and harder to get my mind around. And then not to mention the concept of Fixation on a Coworker, the artwork, everything. It's fucking brilliant.
This
All
was
right,
a
let's
big,
bring it back around.
I was going to say this is a big sound for the 90s because there was a band out west, maybe from the Bay Area, called St. James Infirmary. Does anyone remember them? They kind of sounded like that. Yeah. Kind of like chaotic. I thought you were going to say Frail, Anthony, when you were like, I don't really like chaotic hardcore, but I was like, is he going to say Frail? So
no, I don't like chickens being murdered. I don't like that kind of sound, but
Right
anyway, my number 7, Zach.
Yeah, Ben.
Cracking the whip.
The Heartbreaker round. Ben, number 7.
The Heartbreaker round. Since I've already fallen on my own sword on purpose, or I took one for the greater common good of trying to expose people to music they don't normally listen to. I'm going to lean further into that and name something I did not know existed until 6 months ago. This band is called Suspects. They are from Virginia or DC or wherever, and they Kent Stax, the original drummer of Scream, was the drummer of Suspects. So if you remember, Scream put out these great records, then Dave Grohl joined the band and they put out more records, and then everyone went their separate ways. One of them ended up in Nirvana and some of them ended up in Wool. Kent Stax is in this band Suspects. The song is called Mind Control, and the name of the album is Voice of America. And I think they were kind of considered a street punk band or something kind of adjacent to Oi. But to me, this sounds like regular ass punk music. And it's amazing that, we're in 1995 now. So this is like 18 years after regular ass punk music has been invented, or 19 years, that you can still make a classic no frills punk song that holds up to any other era of punk and like not be in a little kind of compartment, sub genre. And this is on Spotify. So when it goes on the playlist, I beg everyone to listen to this and have that same, aha moment I had 6 months ago where I'm like, damn, there's so much music that is yet to be discovered. That is great.
Yeah, there's another great regular ass punk LP that came out this year. That Oxymoron LP.
Yeah, my friend Mike Dunn told me to listen to that. Yeah, and I did listen to a little bit.
Yeah, it didn't make my list, but it should be mentioned in the regular ass punk lane that still kicks ass.
Wow, we're all ending in the same way. I can't wait to get to my pick.
All right, Dan, let's go to you. Heartbreaker round. What's your number 7?
All right, so I've got 2 bands that are just rising above the rest of the thing, and now it's really heartbreaker to choose between them. I'll save the rest of the things for the honorable mentions. Because I have 3 songs from the one band, it's making it hard to choose them. And I was going to go Juggernaut, Crown of... No, I can't do it. I have to be true to myself in 1995. And I definitely fucked with this more than I fucked with Crown of Thorns in 1995. I am going Swingin' Utters, Teenage Genocide. I was going to choose either Catastrophe or Expletive Deleted or even No Eager Men. The Streets of San Francisco LP, huge LP for me in 1995. And Teenage Genocide is just the perfect punk rock song. It is, what other people will then go on to label as somewhat street punk, because they don't want to call it regular ass punk.
That's what it is, right? That's what it is.
I love it. I love it. That's such a better, Ben has coined 2 punk genres, and one was a whiff, and one he knocked it out of the park. Regular ass punk.
Teenage Genocide is really interesting because Johnny, the singer, only really sings the chorus, and Darius, the guitar player, sings the verses. And his voice sounds like he could be in Stiff Little Fingers. It's so fucking great. Teenage Genocide is just such a track. I couldn't be true to my 1995 self by not having this on there. So while I didn't choose Catastrophe, Expletive Deleted, or No Eager Men, I'm going with Teenage Genocide. It is, even if you don't really ride for this band or whatever, you'll hear this song and you go, oh yeah, that's a great song.
Well, and Dan, you're off the hook on the Juggernaut because the Superior version comes out in 96 on the next record. The first time it comes out, I believe, is when he does the distorted vocals.
Yeah, it's so alternative, 120 minutes vocals, And
it's maddening because he actually has an amazing voice. And so I'm so glad they redo the song in 96 on Mentally Vexed because it's a great song.
Yeah, and the musical intro with the talking about skinheads, and then the ba-na-na-na-na-na, that part that's such a, you want to talk YOLO, that's the YOLO of YOLO riffs.
It's ill. It's so ill. And Swingin' Utters, great band. Regular ass punk. What's up? Okay, my round number 7, we got to be true to ourselves, right? So Dan, what am I going to take? 1995.
Funeral Oration.
Yes, Dan knows me. I'm taking Funeral Oration, the song Outside, because if I'm being true to myself, I gotta pick that song off Cinema Beer Goggles. What's up? I love this album so much, and I was in a toss-up of what song to take, because I think the song Some of Us, it's like a mid-tempo banger, and it's very 95 in the way some bands are getting famous, some bands are making money, and some bands are eating their dick still, and those bands kind of carve out like, nah, man, like it's just about the music. Like we wouldn't take the money, even though, everyone wants to be rich and famous. Shut the fuck up. But anyway, so I'm choosing this song, Outside, though, not that one. Also being true to myself, talking about another song and then swerving. But this song rules. Again, a bass intro. So maybe bass intros are very 95. And I don't know how to describe this band. We did it before.
Regular ass punk.
Regular ass
punk.
Yeah, with like a Dutch twist. Kind of sounds like a poor man's Jelly Biafra playing on top of a poor man's Bad Religion, I guess. But for some reason, it just resonates with me. It's one of my favorite bands of all time. This is my favorite record of theirs. And they had to make my playlist because what's up? Keeping It Real, which came out in either 95 or 96. We can't tell based on Discogs. So I'm not taking Keeping It Real. But Pops, let's go to you for your number 7, Heartbreaker Round.
Okay, regular ass punk. So quick setup because I know we're trying to knock this out. Tuesdays, new music would come out. Go to Newbury Comics with my old roommate, Skinhead Rob. He was a huge fan of this band. Really got me to like listen to them more. Like when music wasn't available to you on the internet, whatever. And we're flipping through records, and we see this green record that says Battalion of Saints AD. What? Huh? Didn't know Battalion of Saints had any music out. I go, you should buy that, dude. I'm not fucking buying that thing. That's $5. You crazy? Go back home, jam this 45, and just keep flipping it. And the A side is Hell's Around the Corner. And I love this song because I love Battalion of Saints. Tang had put out the compilation of most of their material shortly thereafter. But to hear like an old band come back in a new form and rip, like I don't normally like a song that says baby, but it works. And sometimes I want my punk rock a little methy. It's fucking awesome. If you haven't heard this tune, jam it. Jam the B-side too. The whole thing's on Spotify, but I don't know. I wanted to give it a little mention because it's kind of nice that in 95 you're seeing bands come back. Like I guess you could say Slapshot came back to form with 16 Valve Hate or whatever, but there was enough space for bands to come back and do new things. But that being said, in my research, I discovered they filmed a video for this. It's like a mock, I guess they did in like 2011, and it's kind of like a Quentin Tarantino thing. I wish I hadn't seen it, but I'm super glad I rediscovered this tune because it rips.
The best thing about Tang doing like an album cover like this, where it's bright green and then it's black and white, with like they didn't take the photos to be half toned or anything.
No, oh hell no.
Yeah, you can't tell that it's all blurry and shit. So
the great thing about Tang is just taking whatever artwork you turn in and then compressing it and squishing it, just like beyond all recognition. The fact that
yeah, you took that photo vertical. Yeah, we can make that horizontal. That's not a problem. We got a tool for that.
Shout out Dave from Tang.
No, they take a Polaroid photo of an album cover. Then they in the stock room they have the very first scanner ever. They run it through that, and it goes through MS DOS, and that's how you get an album cover. What's up?
Oh, they're still recreating. They're like, oh, we got to reissue that Slapshot record. Hey, Choke, can you take a photo of that with your iPhone? Yeah, okay, cool.
You know what though? They really did knock it out the park on the Negative Approach repress, because that's just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, there's very few times where you can make a classic record more classic, and that's really, there's something to be said about that. It's like there's only one Picasso, but there can be two, right? And like they did it.
Well, there's Picasso, and then there's Dave from Tang.
How do you take the character from the greatest hardcore 7-inch of all time and maybe the greatest horror movie of all time and totally ruin it and make it look cheesy and stupid? It's so fucking offensive. Good God. That's all I got. Sorry. Okay. I will go to honorable mentions first because I'm going to fly. I'm going to show you how it's done. 88 Fingers Louie. Dude, they ruined this record. I love this album so much, but like the remixing on it, good God, they made the bass all twangy and high in the mix. So I didn't put them on my list just because I was so offended by this remix. Whoever did that, go fuck yourself. But 80 Fingers Louie, Pent Up.
Dave from Tang.
Oh, sorry, Dave. We try to not talk shit on Chris Kelly anymore because I'm scared he's going to cry. And I don't want to make you the new whipping boy. So, Dave, we love you. What's up? Those 3 songs from 88 Fingers Louie. Bull Weevils, Fence Sitter off the Heavyweight LP. This is my favorite punk guitar tone of all time. So it's hard to not make the list. Warzone, Free at Last. The band Disfear, their whole album, Soul Scars. This is some of the best D-beat of the 90s. It is brutal. That whole Funeration LP, the Good Riddance LP. Jawbreaker, the song I like off Dear You the most is Bad Scene, Everybody's Fault. Hatebreed, Not One Truth came out on the Neglect split. What's Up? I think the demo is the same year, but I never had the demo, so I don't know. The whole Ignite LP, the Jughead's Revenge song from Cinema Beer Goggles, 49 and 61. Lagwagon, Kids Don't Like to Share, Violins, Black Eyes. Lifetime, Ostracized. That song rules. It's the best song on that record. What's Up? Millencolin, the song Reply. I wanted that to be on my playlist so bad just so you guys could hear it, but whatever. No Use for a Name, the rest of the record. Pennywise put out an album this year that is not good, but there are some standouts. Peaceful Day, Every Single Day, and Same Old Story, all kick ass. Rancid, Olympia, Washington, Listed MIA are my favorite songs off that record because Dan took Journey to East Bay because the man has impeccable taste. What's Up? 10-Yard Fight, Pit of Equality. That hurt not having it on my list, but 95, dude, it's do that all fucking day. Total Chaos. Total Chaos, the song Punk No Die. How ill is that, dude? Punk No Die. We're in it for life. Punk will not die. What's Up? Also, Floor Punch, Clear off the demo. Again, hard to not have it on my list, but it's not. Ben, let's go to you. Honorable mentions.
Dillinger 4, One Trick Pony off their first 7-inch. Bouncing Souls, the BMX song. Snapcase, Windows 95. It's actually it's called Windows, but it came out in 95, so fuck it. Unbroken, Crushed on You. Integrity, Systems Overload, you got that one. Undertow Control, you got that one. It's 10-Yard Fight, First and 10. Strife, To an End. Leeway, covering the Buzzcocks, I Believe. Temperance from Rhode Island, What Must Be. The Suppression Swing, Authority Figure. Kill Holiday, Cold Shoulder. Endpoint, Brown County. Pale Fire, Stain, which is also off that Guilty by Association comp. Shift, Spacesuit, off this Spacesuit album, Equal Vision. Split Lip, Her Side of Sundown, which was reissued as the band Chamberlain, Her Side of Sundown. They just changed their name and reissued the album. I don't know if that served them well. God bless. Blue Tip, Past Tense. Fugazi, Back to Base. All right, Revelation, The College Years. Far Side, Lollapalooza. Sensefield, Overstand. Shades Apart, September Burns. Texas is the Reason. If it's here when we get back, it's ours. Whirlpool, Blinding Light. Engine Kid, Windshield. State of the Nation, Kill Your Revolution. Revelation Records, College Graduates. Quicksand, Brown Gargantuan. Shelter, Appreciation. Civ, Solid Bond. Other Major Leaguers, Beastie Boys, Brand New. Face to Face, A-OK. Seaweed, Free Drug Zone. 7 Seconds, I Can Remember. Circle Jerks, I Want to Destroy You, featuring Debbie Gibson. I got Ramones, I Don't Want to Grow Up. You got that one. All, $1,000,000 Bucks. Bad Brains, Cool Mountaineer. Jawbreaker, Million. Emo Core. Current, Repetition. Ordination of Aaron. Immersion in a 90-mile-per-hour world. Roosevelt's Inaugural Parade. Vendor. Gathering Ground, Blue Gray. Pop Punk New School Fart Rock. Good Riddance Boys and Girls. Shoegazer, Beautiful. Don't let the name fool you. They're a pop punk band, not a shoegaze band. Rancid, Time Bomb. Schlep Rock, Waiting. 10-Foot Pole, Gnarly Charlie from the 10-Foot Pole Satanic Surfers split EP on Bad Taste Records. And Screw 32, some crap off Unresolved Childhood Issues. I don't remember how any of those songs go, but I remember it being an okay song. I mean, an okay record.
That Circle Jerk song was on Cinema Beer Goggles. What's up? Also, if you want some of that Ben Edge Coke, hit up his dealer, 323-660-4166. And Dan, let's go to you for your honorable mentions.
Okay. Anasaka, East Bunk Hill. The terminology screamo and all of that, in a modern day context, you can't really understand what that really means. It's been bastardized a million times. Listen to that. It's so urgent, so epic, so amazing. Okay. Shelter, Message of the Bhagavat.
Hey, have the Krishnas let women be gurus yet?
I don't care. I mean, if you're...
Oh, Dan's getting canceled. What's
No, I
that?
mean, I don't care about... I don't care about Krishnaism at all, is what I'm saying.
Fuck religion, especially the sexist ones.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I'm saying if you're involved in that, then, you know, do your thing, but yeah, question everything around you. Okay, About Face, Redemption 87, Crushed on You, Unbroken, Juggernaut with the 120 minutes style production, Bed for the Scraping, Fugazi, Monitor Dependency, Kill Holiday, and then, you know, I loved a Veil around this time as well, but you know, those are what were on the playlist that didn't make it into the final conversation. 95 ruled.
1995 is a shit. Pops, let's go to you. Honorable mentions.
Hold on. All right, I just did that Ben Coke. Okay, cool. So Lifetime, the song What She Said. Think about this. It steals the melody from The Godfather by Dag Nasty.
Yes, it
You'll
does.
never hear it the same way again. Also, shout out Dan Yeaman. That band rules. Into Another, To Be Free, one of the most Bad Brainsian songs they wrote. It's a ripper. Leeway, Hornet's Nest, the last great song they wrote. I don't want to cap them off. I want to give a shout out to Massachusetts, Western Mass, Dive. Infinity is an Unseen Master, the entire 7-inch. You can cop it off Discogs for $4. It's great. Antioch Arrow, Paper Mache, recorded at G-Sun Studios, where the Beastie Boys studio, which is kind of weird. Entire Angel Hair, Origin of the Species, not Origin of the Species, that's a comp, but the Angel Hair LP that year is great. H100s had a couple rippers that year. I think they put out 3 7-inches that year. Final Conflict, Rebirth, really awesome. And Floor Punch Changes, dude, because we got to see some changes, bro.
It better happen today. What's up? That was 1995. Everyone, we love you. Check out Instagram later in the week. Daniel will post all our picks, and you guys can vote. Smash that Zach button. What's up? All right, we'll talk to you all soon.